Hi everyone, from me, Brent Graham, Thursday night, 9 o'clock time for the Handicap Rugby Chat That Matters. Well, we got an action-packed show for you tonight. I can tell you we're going to be talking a lot of rugby betting, but the man who's already in studio here has got a couple of questions and he's going to be asking a little bit of analysis as we go along the way. So I'm going to introduce him while I let our other guests into the studio. It's Oracle. Oracle, good to have you on the show, mate. And how did you go last week overall?
It was good, Brent. I did enjoy that. Can't remember who it was last week. How's it, Harry? You're in a car. Are you currently driving or parked and you're about to be arrested for parking in a no stopping zone? How bad is it?
No, I'm not. I'm parked. No seatbelt. Look, I'm okay.
Are you back in the US, Harry?
I am. I took a 17-hour flight from Australia, from the world's 10th most happiest country, and now I'm in 10th most unhappy country, and we're all good.
Excellent. Well, Oracle, just before I hand back to you there, Cena's saying good evening, and he says he's invited members from a rugby WhatsApp group to join us tonight. That's the spirit, lads. Invite other guys to join in on the live show and the recorded show as well, for that matter. The more, the merrier. Let's go to Oracle. Oracle, overall, decent weekend for you last weekend. I mean, your Argentina that you selected, a few weeks ago, you said they were value. And I mean, for me, the Rugby Championship is gone. But they did prove your point, though. They're a very good side, and they're capable of beating anyone on their day.
Brent, I think they were valued at the 20-1 that they were 3 weeks ago or 3 games ago, when had they beaten Australia twice, there'd be a proper race in Nelspruit. I mean, it wouldn't be a minus 18, have to win by 8 or more and score more tries. So you know what? They're probably the same price. Maybe they're 25-1. I haven't seen outright betting this week. But yeah, it was a right call at the time. Had you taken 20-1 and they win that first game against Australia, which I expected them to win in Argentina, it's a different match in Nelspruit, I suppose. I mean, South Africa just have to show up and lose by 7 or less, and they won the tournament. A couple of questions, and Harry might be able to help us with this one. I read your article, Harry, on the Raw a couple of weeks ago. I can't remember which one it was, but it was very well written, and you inspired me to write again. So I will come out, and I remember you telling me write some stat stuff, and I'll get there. But I got a question. So I noticed at the end of the game last week, I don't know if you guys noticed, but Argentina were shown in video and picture on live TV holding a trophy above a Rugby Championship banner at the bottom, and they're all sitting there. And the guys are asking me, like, I've got a lot of people that enjoy rugby asking me, like, what was that? And I'm going, maybe it's them taking a picture of them with the Rugby Championship in case they win, so they've already got it filmed up next week in Nelspruit. And I do know that we have a trophy with Australia, the Mandela Plate, and we have the Freedom Cup with New Zealand. But I'm unaware of us having a trophy with Argentina, so I have no idea what that was. My mate gets onto Reddit during the week, and he asked the same question, and people are going like they don't know. So maybe Harry can help us, but Argentina were definitely filmed holding a trophy, celebrating with confetti in front of a Rugby Championship banner at the end of the game last week, and we are perplexed.
I don't know, but I've always thought that all the teams have a hedge against the Rugby Championship ending, so there's a cup in between each one, much like the Calcutta Cup between England and Scotland and so forth. Yeah. But no, I think there's a cup in between every single team that no one pays notice from except for the Bledisloe, actually. And as the Rugby Championship might come to an end in a couple of years, who knows? I'm going to carry on with these cups. I don't know why they would have it, though. Why would Argentina claim it after one?
Yes, correct. They've only beaten us 4 times, I think, in total. So, yes, it's unlikely.
Bit of a mystery, that one, gents. Maybe someone in the live chat can help out. Harry, we're going to kick off the opening game with you. But first of all, just share your experience. You were recently over in Oz for the Bledisloe Cup. Is that your first Bledisloe you've ever attended?
First Bledisloe, and it was only from the Australian side, which means that half the crowd was All Blacks supporters. They might have been living in Sydney or Sydney environs. Might have come over. Most of them probably were living in Australia. Australia has about, 750,000 Kiwis living inside it. So I don't know what the Bledisloe feels like from the other side, when it's all Kiwi support, because I'm sure that's more 95-5. But I can compare this experience between that and recent matches that I've been to in Cape Town or Durban or Joburg, and I will say there's not anything near the noise, the vibe, the tension. It's quite pleasant as a neutral because no one's standing up in front of you at all ever, and you can always see everything and notice everything because it's like quiet in there except for the DJ. But I think everyone went into that one. All the Kiwis thought they were going to pummel the Wallabies. The words I heard were bully. We're going to bully them. And so in press conferences, which I was able to be in post-match, it was obvious the Wallabies were much, much happier. Joe Schmidt almost viewed that as a win. Harry Wilson was chuffed. He was, giving hugs and high fives. Just to be in touch at the end was everything for these guys who just, only a year ago were just getting spanked over in France by Wales. It's quite a turnaround.
In Fiji.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, 100% a good turnaround there. Just to say welcome to all the guys in the live chat. We've got a hell of a turnout here tonight. Seeing some of your lads definitely coming in there. Eugene, welcome to you. Eugene saying maybe they thought a win against the World Championships gives you a right to some sort of trophy, gives you the championship. But Harry, let's get into this game. We've got New Zealand now against Australia. This game taking place, of course, in Wellington, where Australia have a better record than they do, I think, anywhere in New Zealand. They do, and New Zealand, for that matter, tend to battle a bit in Wellington. I think it was Argentina that beat them there. But we've got a handicap that's been pretty stable all week. New Zealand, 19-point favourites. Bookies just expecting New Zealand to come out and finish off the job they didn't. They started last week, but never got done. What are your views on this game?
Oh, it's a brave spread there, 19.5. There's not that much change fundamentally between these two sides, except a little more belief in the Wallaby side. When you're the one that finishes strong, and the winner is praying for the clock to run, and Wallabies would have been thinking, if we keep playing for 10, 15 more minutes, this is the problem, guys. All Blacks are a 1-hour team. They're the best 1-hour team in rugby right now, but rugby's 80 minutes. And that final 20 minutes, which always was the best friend of New Zealand, is now their worst enemy. The Wallabies have named a team, and it looks like they will once again have a pretty strong bench. You look across at New Zealand, all they've done is switch Beauden Barrett to 10, Damon to 23, and there's not a whole lot else they can do because the dirty little secret is by not playing overseas players and by not having a strong competition to be involved in, they don't have the depth anymore that they can guarantee that final 20. So in my mind, you will have a situation where the Wallabies will enter this match having tightened up some of the loose structural slide defense things that they had, which allowed Will Jordan to waltz in for free and drop the guy that, patted him as he went by, Nick White. So you have a stronger defense off the jump. I don't think they're going to leak 21 points in whatever it was, 10 minutes. And it'll be a proper test match. I do think New Zealand will win because this time they'll do the same thing. They'll plug some holes as well. But I think of a lower scoring match with the Wallabies in or thereabouts with about an hour to go. And then who knows? Kicking will probably play a part here. Beauden Barrett's not the most reliable kicker at the Cape Town. You guys all remember 2018 against the Box, which was sort of the true beginning of the Rossi era when we knocked off All Blacks in Wellington. Wellington is like Durban for the All Blacks. They have a terrible record there. People are discussing whether they should ever play a test in Wellington again. So no, I think 19.5 is way off. I would say it's going to be inside 10. All Blacks win just because they have the better starting team and they should have a lead going into the final quarter.
I want to come back to you on this game, Harry, because I got something I saw on the breakdown the other night I want to ask you about. But let's get Oracle's view on this game. Oracle, we got a big handicap here. And are you going to tell me the bookies have got this one right, or is there some value to be had for the punters?
No, I'm going to agree with Harry, and I'm going to say a couple of slightly different things to him. But first thing I was going to say, it's not just Kings Park, Harry. Kingsmead cricket ground, same story. The Proteas don't want to play there because they don't win there either. So maybe it's the East Coast coastal weather. Sorry. So my bloed is groen. commented that I didn't know any players. I'm going to tell you my Blitzes Krun. I learned a player this weekend called Fraser McBride. I think I've got his name correct. And I'm going to say if he's in the squad on Saturday against New Zealand, you can take 5 points off this handicap. That guy's worth almost a try on his own. I was very impressed with him. I heard his when I'm watching a rugby game and I hear the same player called out by the commentators sort of 4, 5, 6 times, I sort of take notice and go, okay, never heard this guy's name. What's he on about? What's he doing? I do know the other guy. I think his name's Price, number 14, the winger, or sometimes he plays fullback. I recognize him. He's quite a good-looking guy. I am into women, so don't get me wrong here, but he's quite a good-looking guy. And Fraser McBride. So I do know 2 players, and I definitely know that Nick, number 9 character, always just causes cuck with the referee. But I got to say, listen, Australia got to lose here. Sorry?
Yeah, he's been dropped.
He's
Nick White.
Right, okay. So then I only know 2 players in the team. I know the guy that got the 100 test matches only because he's been on my screen so many times. But anyway, and in fact, I'll just spend 30 seconds talking about that. So we've got a couple of records, actually. We've got the guy chasing, what's his name? Etzebeth chasing Matt Field's record. We've got this guy that just got the Australian record. And we just had that Argentinian guy when he scored the try 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago getting a record. So it's quite nice to see that players have gone through the ranks and all 3 of the countries or 3 of the 4 countries have had record appearances, which is very nice. Anyway, so last week I tipped Australia first half, New Zealand to win the game. I got it wrong. So New Zealand won the first half, Australia won the second half. I'm going to suggest that we go with what happened last week. I think New Zealand will come out fighting in this Wellington game, and as Harry and Brent have pointed out, it's a weak stadium for New Zealand. Don't know what it's all about. Don't know why it is. I'm a stats person, and that sort of baffles me very often. But I do think that Australia got nothing to lose here. They've got a couple of decent players. Who's the Oracle number 10? Elton Giantcheese, obviously. Yeah, I think Australia can give them a go, and I think 19's way too much for this fixture. Last week it was too much. I think it's too much this week as well. I'm not a big punter on this. I'll take a small stake on a New Zealand first half, Australia second half, or halftime, full time, whatever they call it, and I'll have a small punt on Australia to win on the board. I think it's a very big price. I won't really bother with a handicap, but I do think it'll be a close game. I'm in agreement with Harry. I think we're looking at a single digit here, but I do think New Zealand start off the better team.
Right. Just before I bring Harry back in again, I just want to comment on the points line there. 57.5 has been edging up. A poker bet always first out here in South Africa. They came out mid-50s and it's edging up. But I'm also in agreement with Harry. I think unders, and Harry, you didn't point it out as such, but you said you fancied a bit of a low-scoring game. I looked at the record in Wellington between these sides. Probably over the last 20 years, they've met 6 times. Not once has this points line been reached in Wellington. Wellington's one of those grounds where the wind tends to swirl around. Humidity sitting at there in the 80s, from what I can see. It's not ridiculous humidity, but it's going to be a little bit slippery in that. And I think unders points could be the way to go here on this game. I think if you're not sure on the handicap or you're not sure on the team selection, then you could do unders. Stefan reckons he's going to go New Zealand 1-12. Stefan, you'll get a nice price on that. But Harry, I want to bring you in. I was watching the breakdown. I normally like to watch the breakdown when New Zealand are struggling a little bit, because actually, to be honest, I like to watch Jeff Wilson and JK and that. And unfortunately, none of them are on the show this week, right? But they had a lady, and I think the guest. I'm sorry, I actually have forgotten her name, but she was talking about, and she loves stats, Gav, like you. She was saying she loves stats, and she was going on. And then she spoke about something which was quite interesting, because why are New Zealand so weak now in the final 20? And she started talking about what's it called, running meters or gain line meters. So in other words, you can have a lot on the ball, but if you're not getting across the gain line, and she was saying, and she mentioned some stats, but bottom line, for every carry that Australia made, they made like say 4 meters, and New Zealand made an average of 2 meters. And I remember, without knowing that stat, looking at it when we played them as well, and it just seemed like physically when South Africa got the ball, we made more yards than New Zealand. And I wonder if that to me seems like quite a good explanation. But so what she was saying is the New Zealand teams of old would tire you out in the first 60 minutes and then put you to bed. But even though they're doing lots of good thing with the ball and that, they don't have the power up front, that physical presence to really wear teams down anymore. And the more I thought about it, the more I thought, I think she's onto something there. What do you think of that, Harry?
No, it's true. And so I'll tell you the stat for the whole Rugby Championship is this. Argentina and South Africa on top, and they have a good 0.6 yards, meters post contact advantage, and they are, I think, almost a meter per carry advantage over Australia and New Zealand. So you're looking at the two teams at the top and the bottom being separated by gain line, and it's a big thing in rugby if you cannot generate gain line from a standing start, courtesy of Jasper Visa or Pablo Matera, these hard carriers. New Zealand only has one such guy. It's Wallace Satiti, but he's new and he doesn't really know the places to go yet. And so their breakdowns, speaking of breakdown, their breakdown's in trouble. You look at the loose trios this week, Harry Wilson, Rob Ballatini, and Fraser McWright are a better loose trio than the New Zealand trio of Sam Cane, who's a little bit past it now. He lost a tackle over... He lost the hooker, the Australian hooker, just ran over him. Artie Survey has always been an undersized 8, and that's starting to catch up with him. And then you have a series of people that try to throw in to plug the gap, but none of them are actually filling the gap. So what's happening is everything we used to say about New Zealand now applies to them in reverse. The Blacks are fitter, so are the Wallabies. So you cannot tire teams out that are fitter than you. The loss of Whitelock and Retallick has not even come close to being fulfilled. So they're always underpowered now in that lock. And most of the people they brought in for new blood are old blood, like Damien, 50 caps, Bowden, 100 caps. There's nothing new. So all the teams know exactly what Bowden Barrett will do. There's no surprise. There's no innovation. What you're looking at is New Zealand in decline, but also in denial about it. It's the reason why they denial because it's a slow decline. They're not falling off the edge, but they're going from number 1 to number 2 to number 3 and headed down to number 4 unless they can find some real hard nut carriers and win the breakdown again.
What's interesting you mentioned about bringing old players back, because I quickly Googled the age of Retallick and the age of Sam Whitelock. Now, Whitelock's 35, so I don't think he'll be back. I think Retallick was 33, and I started thinking, I've got a feeling we're going to see Retallick come back at some time in the future because they really, really are, as you say, struggling to replace those guys. Tango Foxtrot, before we get into the next game, Ireland ranked number 1 in the world. Believe me, I've got a lot of Irish mates, and I've got a lot of WhatsApp this week saying we're number 1 in the world. And I'm saying, well done, guys, well done. I'm really looking forward to that New Zealand-Ireland game at the end of the year, I can tell you that. But before we get into the next game, guys, the Oracle's got a question for you and me, Harry, and I'll bring it up here. And we are going to talk now Argentina or Box Argentina. But Oracle, you can ask the question, but I've just sort of summarized it there on the screen.
Yeah, so Harry, the journalist, I'm sure you've read quite a bit this week, and obviously Brent as well. A lot of people blaming Manny Lebok, and I called him today, what did I call him? Manny Belok for some reason. Anyway, missing the 3-point kick at the end of the game. And I said to him, you know what? You can't blame a kicker for missing a 3-point kick when you had a 17-point lead. But anyway, despite that, so in other words, I'm telling you that the reason for the loss or the excuse for the loss was not the miss of the 3-point kick at the end of the game. Is there a point of the game where you felt South Africa lost it? When you were watching the game and you thought they've lost this game or they could lose this game and you went over the 50% line to say they're more likely to lose it? Was there something that happened in the game that you noticed? I'm going to tell you at the end after I hear Brent and yourself, and I'm interested to know what you guys thought was where South Africa lost the game, assuming it wasn't the 3-point kick at the end of the game, in other words.
Yeah, I think real time when I was watching it with a bunch of Aussies, I said when it was 14-0 and then the decision was made to go 17-0, I said, I think sometimes in those situations, I want to keep going, go for the try, kick to the corner, and keep doing it until we make the referee find the card in his pocket. There's something about that referee and the way he was reffing that made me think it's momentum driven. So if you just keep, it's the moment where instead of going to 21-0 with a card, we went to 17-0 and everyone's on the field, allow the RGs to sniff. And at home, far away. It's like we were playing on Mars. The pictures there. I always felt like you want to make sure that your foot is on their neck, otherwise they're at your throat. And so that's hindsight, but I do remember saying that at the time, like, no, jugular. I'm not sure 21-0 would have been enough, by the way, but it would have sent a big message to the referee that that you can start carding them, because it was the card which was followed that I think switched things.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think, Gav, just to come in there, I thought the same question for me. So first of all, when I was watching at 14-0, I was happy they took the points. And my reason totally different. I was over 51.5 points in the game. And I always believe, and I know Henrik kind of believes this, I think, as well, when you're on overs points at that sort of line, you actually want every point taken early on. You don't mind 7 points, 3 points. And my fear was, you go to the corner, you eat up 5 minutes in, you don't score a try. So I was quite happy with the 3. But when I look back on the game, Harry, 100% agree with you. I think there was an opportunity there to put a team down and also, send a message to the ref, send a message to the team. Obviously, yes, the yellow card was another one. And I guess when you look at the whole Manie Lebock thing, and, it's an interesting one because, yes, you can't. I mean, should we have been in a situation where we needed 3 points to win the game? No. But obviously, that was a fairly basic 3 points that we should have got to win the game. And, would have won me my 1-12 bet. So lots of different ways to look at it. But the fact that he took Pollard off and brought Manie on type of thing, whereas perhaps he could have shifted Pollard to 12 and continued with Manie. That, in retrospect, was also perhaps something that happened there. But, Gav, interested to hear if Harry and I have covered your views or if you've got something unique for us.
You haven't, and I'm going to start with a question I asked you last week, and you tipped the 1-12. I said, which one's worse, Argentina winning by 1 or South Africa winning by 13? And you said Argentina winning by 1, and you got what you asked for. But I'll tell you what, I'm watching the game, and we're leading. And I'm looking at the clock, and it's 63 minutes, and we get a penalty. And Manie Lebock kicks for the corner, but he misses. He goes he kicks it dead. And straight away, I said to my wife and my kid, I said, that's it. That was an opportunity. We should have taken 3. So to go back to what Harry said earlier, you got to take 3, and Joe Lyons, 100%. You don't lose a game when you're 17 points up, number one. But when you're on the jugular, you got your foot halfway on the neck at 63 minutes, and you're taking a kick for the corner, you got to make touch. And my kids are fly off, and I've always said to them, don't go for the 5-meter line. Touch is more important. Making touch is more important than missing touch. So, and if you look at risk and reward, if you miss touch, you're in huge trouble. If you make it, as we saw with Sasha Feinberg Gomazulu, I hope I pronounced it correctly, a couple of weeks ago, kicking into the 5-meter line, and the crowd going wild, and commentators saying what a great kick it was. It's like royalty and peasantry, almost in a couple of meters. So for me, Manie Lebock makes touch there, we win the game. Because if we don't score the try, as Harry said, we'll probably get a yellow card for a couple of penalties, or we grind out a 3-point penalty and get the 3 points and we win the game anyway. But at 63 minutes, you don't miss the kick. And as soon as I saw that happen, I knew straight away we were in massive trouble. We went from odds-on favorites before that kick to maybe we win afterwards. I don't know. It was a massive swing, that 63-minute kick for the corner where he missed touch.
So I'm going to bring Harry back in there because I'm interested in your view on this, because I agree with, first of all, it's hard to argue with Oracle there. I think that miss of touch was huge. But I also know that Manie tends to go for the corner. And if I think back, it was the warm-up at Twickenham. I mean, I've never seen such brilliant touch kicking from penalties as Manie delivered that day. So he does tend to shave it off. If I look at Argentina's penalties, they also kicked some absolute monsters out on the 5-meter line. And when you go for that 5-meter line from distance, you are taking that element of risk and reward. And I think that some coaches have got the view, and I'm starting to lean in this direction. I used to agree with Oracle, like just stick it out to touch on the 22 or whatever. But the fact that on the 5-meter line, teams don't contest the line out. They practically give you the ball. Is it worth the gamble of going for that 5-meter, knowing that maybe 1 in every 10 kicks or maybe 2 in every 10 kicks you're going to kick dead? Or do you take a slightly more conservative route and aim for the 10-meter line? If you miss kick it, you might get on the 5. What are your views there, Harry?
Yeah, okay, so this is complicated because it has stats driven all around, right? But it's one of those things in kicking, we do have really accurate stats, so we can actually see what happens. The same guy, Marty LeBoc, that misses touch is the same guy who misses for poles, and you contrast that to Andre Pollard, who kicks between 80 and 85%, Marty between 45 and 60% in the last 3 years. Andre's really good at kicking for touch too. When he goes for the 5-7, 5-8, he gets it much more than most fly-offs. I think he's one of the best in the world on that particular stat, which is ice cold veins, go for a really good line kick. So the answer is, if you are not that good at it, then don't go for it. Like Oracle is saying, just kick it out and restart. But if you know that you have that in your golf bag, if you do have a 2-iron, you have a 3-iron that you can hit under a tree, around the tree, onto the green, it's like anything else. If you know how to do that, that's one of your points of difference. So Andre does have that. He knows he has that, and he goes for it. That's another reason to keep Andre on. Secondly, the Blocks are particularly good at generating penalties from their moving maul. It's not that the maul itself has to score. It's an aircraft carrier, I call it. It's an aircraft carrier because you launch it, they can score from a peel-off, they can score from the backline move with advantage already, or it can pile over and score on a bongi try. So there's almost, you just want to have excuses to launch a maul. Like it generates cards, penalties, tries, points. It's almost like the thing that keeps on giving, because very few times can you remember when the Bucks were pinged for something on a rolling a maul. So those are all factors into it. Oracle and I kind of agree here, because I was saying go for the rolling maul in the first half, and he's saying in the end just take the points. They are flip sides of the same problem. Is how do you go up by enough where the game is put to bed? And 21-0, sorry guys, but I think that is game, set, and match, because from 21-0 you have scoreboard pressure, and then you don't see the same. You don't get the card. And if we don't have the card, then we go up maybe 24, 27, and then, it's game. So, that's all retrospect. And by the way, Marty's got to make the kick. It's not that he lost the game per se. It's that Marty would say to himself, I hope he says to himself, I have to make the kick because I cost my team. I think he does say that to himself, and he's going to make a better shot this time.
Yeah, 100%. I think you're right. I think in a way, Rusty wants to see Marnie in those sort of situations, because I think the fact that he keeps faith in Rusty, and Henrik made the point there. I mean, Marnie's contestable kicks were brilliant throughout the game. He's a brilliant fly-off, there's no question. And Rusty, more than anyone else, wants him to nail those pressure kicks. And the only way you can improve that part of his game, aside from practice and that, but the pressure part, you can't create at practice. The pressure part, he's got to take those kicks in the big games. And when he starts nailing them, then Rusty will have achieved his objective. If he never does, then at some point Rusty will probably say, right, okay, we'll have you around the fringes of the squad, but we can't afford to have you on the field as our kicker. But I think Rusty was happy he had that opportunity. Well, not happy with the result, of course, but anyway. Let's get Oracle to kick us off then on the actual betting front. Now, we've got a handicap here that opened 20.5, went down to 18.5. It's hovering around. I sold now 19.5 before the game. A points line of 56.5, excuse me, now. I did the preview early on this one because PokerBet, and we're very fortunate here at the moment that PokerBet do come out early with lines. They came out at 51.5, and I sent this one out with Graham's guarantee, and I haven't yet decided what's going to happen when I get one of these wrong in terms of the market movement. But my guarantee was, guys, take 51.5 points. This will not be there. I even said at the end of Thursday, and fair enough, the line has moved. This is a high-scoring sort of ground, generally speaking, certainly in provincial rugby. Oracle, what do you think here? We've got a big handicap, and we've got what's looking now like a fairly big points line. Where's the smart money going?
Excuse me, Brent. So a 19.5, I'm going to tell you, is not a big handicap. Argentina coming to South Africa over the years from 2012, 2011, I think it's 2012 when they started coming over here, handicaps have always been in the teens. In fact, I remember seeing minus 24.5 in South Africa. And I know that when they started those first couple of years in New Zealand, they were plus 27, plus 28. So I'm going to tell you 19 is not massive. It's probably about right. However, I'm going to give a caveat to this, to use Harry's eloquent English. This is a potential banana peel. South Africa win this game. I'm going to tell you they win this game. South Africa win the championship. They win the game. But I don't know they've got the motivation to smash this into the 20s and 30s. And I'm also going to say I don't think they can. This is a team that is on the up and up. This is a Tiger Woods after 3 majors winning and sitting in a press conference and they're telling me he's 9-10. He's going, at those odds, I'm not backing myself. Argentina beaten South Africa, Australia and New Zealand in the same year. Massive year for them. They could finish second. They're unlikely to, provided that New Zealand win the game on the weekend. They're not guaranteed to finish third, but they more than likely will finish third. It'll be their best year ever in this tournament. We're talking about this in the office, actually. I remember having conversations in 1999 when they were talking about putting Italy into the Six Nations and saying, yeah, it's a bad decision. And it took Italy a long time before they beat everybody. They have beaten everybody, but they're not going to win the tournament. And in fact, I'm going to suggest Italy won't win Six Nations while I'm alive. And I'm 53, and I'm likely to live for quite a while. However, on the other side of it, Argentina are definitely likely to win this tournament in the next 10 years. I mentioned it last week with the language thing. Nobody follows Argentinian press or journalism or sports websites. We don't know what's going on there. They don't even have a provincial system going. They've got club rugby going on over there. And every year, I mean, this year they showed up with an under-20 team that came to Cape Town and beat the South African under-20 team. So these are kids that have been playing each other in school. They haven't played other countries. There's definitely a good footprint or grassroots level of rugby in Argentina, sorry, not Argentina. I think they come close in this game in Elspeth. They're going to go for it. We just want to win the game. This is a classic cup final. You want to give me, I mean, we all remember the 2011 World Cup final with New Zealand and France. I think the handicap was 16. I was all over the 16, had a small nibble on France on the board, but I knew it was going to be close. New Zealand didn't run away with it, and South Africa are definitely not going to run away with it this weekend. I'm a plus Argentina punter here. In fact, I'm going to suggest you take the 1-12 or you take a plus 10.5, and this will be a close game because they're good. This is their best season they've ever had in their entire history. This is their best year, 2024 for Argentina.
Well, I want to bring Harry in there now, but I also just want to bring up Joe's post here. Under 5 tries worth of punt. Penalties won't be kicked to touch, but to posts. Now, it's interesting, this, Harry, because what is Argentina? We all know the Box. I believe the Box are going to come out here and firing and looking for the big win. And I do believe they've got the hunger to go for that. But what about Argentina? They've had their win. They've generally struggled to go back-to-back. And let's face it, we can talk about this as a Rugby Championship decider. But because of the way they have to beat South Africa, I mean, they've got to beat them by more than 3 tries and stop South Africa getting within 8 points to realistically win the Rugby Championship. I mean, do Argentina go into this game chasing that result to win the Rugby Championship, or have what they achieved is actually enough at the moment? And I'll come back to you on this one as well, Oracle. But have what they achieved enough? In other words, Argentina can look back on this tournament, whether they finish second or third. We've done bloody well. We've beaten each of those teams. Realistically, yes, the coach might say we're chasing the 3-try win, but realistically, deep down, they might be there for the taking. What are your thoughts on that?
You know, it's interesting, right? The case that's to be made for Argentina has been made very well by the Oracle. By the way, if we wanted to do a handicap on how long Oracle will live versus what the correct handicap on this match, I would love to see the over-under on that. I think here's what I would say. It took 23 years from 2000, I think, on for Argentina to beat 3 of the top 4 ranked teams in the world at the time in 1 year. And this year they did all of it. France, New Zealand.
Huge.
So that's a massive uptick. We must say that. To your point, Brent, often they've taken and they said, okay, we did well, so now we're done. You know, we just did our Everest. We just did our Super Bowl. We've already done it, so now we can go on the piss. And there's evidence of that. There's evidence that this year in New Zealand, after they toweled New Zealand to sort of capitulate on the return match. So we cannot dismiss that as a possibility. It doesn't seem like Felipe Contepomi has that, though. I think he has his guys believing that they are in this and they should win it. Here's the problem with that. He's got a lot of young guys, and he might make them believe it too much. And I think nerves you'll see for the first time. I think they've got 18 guys under 25. They've got 4 guys under 23. They've got a lot of people with low caps. that's going to come to the fore because now they're going to be the ones far from home. Pablo Matera's on the bench. You've got some really novice guys in the back line. I actually think this is going to be a high-scoring game for the Springboks. Also, from what I hear inside the camp of the Boks, they're pretty upset. They're wuss. And I think there's going to be some scores settled. There's some people who are embarrassed. And the 7 that were kept behind. Can you imagine how upset Peter Steph Toy was watching that on TV? Can you imagine just the level of fury inside like Damon Delende's brain, the way he gets? He's a quietly angry guy, right? I think they're going to be some tries scored, and they're going to want to rub it in that you are the younger brother. You're not there yet. You don't know some things that we know. and here's the proof of it. That stadium also is really good for the Boks, and it's a really fast track surface. And I also think starting Mani, I think they've given him this like go to the races. I think Jaden Tamani is a quick 1-2, and you're going to see some outside backs have some. I also think Fassi's too quick. If they can just give that boy some lane, some tram, I do not think the Pumas can catch him. So moves. Tony Brown, is going to have some things cooked up for this one. So in my opinion, it's going to be more than, I think it's going to be Boks by 22-ish. Demoralized Pumas, a lot of, happiness for their whole season, but a really bad ending for them. And then on the total points line, I worry about the Pumas' ability to score, but I really see the Boks scoring 4 or 5 tries here. So I'd kind of push the overs, but I'd stay away from that. I'd more say that the Pumas will not score very much on this one.
So, yeah, just based on that advice, Stefan, Harry saying Boks points over 36.5. I've seen 37.5, 36.5. That's actually, Stefan, I did put my bet up last night on the preview, but I did acknowledge that the line was going to move. I'd be back with another bet. And that's more or less where I'm leaning. Although I'm going to look at the tries as well, as opposed to the points, and I'll make a decision on that. Gents, that brings us almost to the end. I think, Oracle, you wanted to add something on that?
Yeah, sorry. What's that? 56 minus 19. That takes it to 36-18. 36-18. I'm going to tell you, South Africa haven't scored more than 31 points in the stadium against anyone. They've played 4 times. They haven't won by more than 10. So I'm a stats like. I'm going to tell you, Nelspruit, and I'm a big Fuff de Klerk fan. It's bucket list stuff for me to go and watch a Currie Cup game at the stadium at some point in my life. I'm going to tell you, South Africa, they just need to win this game. South Africa not scoring much more than 30, and they're not winning by much more than 10. I'm telling you, listen to me. This is not a runaway game. They don't need to win it by any more than winning the game. And yeah, I just think that I'm not going to say back Argentina to win here. Jeez, I know they like 20 or 25 to 1 to win the Rugby Championship, but they can win this game. So I don't know. I'm a plus punter here. I'm sorry, I'm a plus punter and a little bit on the board. This is Nelspruit. This is that zebra. This is a zebra stadium. No.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one. Dinesh is saying, Dad's saying the Springboks to seal with an emphatic win. I'm very much in his camp there. I think the Boks will get this done well. And yes, on the
isn't this Brent? Isn't this the town where Giant Cheese got done in the hotel with some scandal with the masseuse or the physio, whatever it was? Yeah, I think South Africa arrive in this town and Ike start tuning them and reminding them. I don't know. I think this is a little closer than people think.
Mark Dunphy says Pumas on the plus for him. Right, guys, there is URC. Now, Harry, I didn't even speak to you beforehand. Have you looked at you want to chat a little bit of URC? If you need a bolt off, no problem as well. We're just going to run through the games, I think, because there's a few South African teams obviously playing. You want to hang around or you need to get somewhere?
I haven't looked because I was just flying from Sydney, so I couldn't add anything except I think Akker will be Duhan in the brothers duel. That's all.
Okay, 100%. But Harry, thanks, mate. It's been great having you back on the show. And cracking weekend of rugby to look forward to. Appreciate it, mate. Thanks a lot.
Live long, Oracle. Prosper. Bye.
Thanks. Cheers, Harry.
Live long, Oracle. I like that one. Joe Lyons, lads, the most important thing to remember, no matter what happens, Is Ireland number
Yeah,
one in the world? I
so
absolutely
Brent,
love it.
before we go to URC, let's look at that. So South Africa win they win the quarterfinal, they win the semi-final, they win the final of the Rugby World Cup. They then take on Ireland, who beat them in one game. They beat Ireland. They beat New Zealand twice. They beat Australia twice. They lose one game to Argentina in Argentina, and suddenly they're not number one. I'm all for these rankings and whatever, but geez, that doesn't sound right to me. I don't know. It's a little bit odd, and I'm not going to say that. Yeah, I'm not going to say it's wrong or what. It just doesn't feel right. I mean, I don't know.
No, I think it's difficult to have rugby rankings. You don't have a global season, so I mean, it's weird to think like. And I'm not arguing. I don't know. I mean, they're a side that's actually got the only side with the dominant record against us recently. So you've got, I mean, no argument there. But it's very difficult to have rankings, and just quite a funny thing before we move on to URC as well. In the past, New Zealand, a lot of New Zealand critics have always said, South Africa do nothing in between World Cups. All very well coming out and winning the World Cup. They do nothing. And this week, I actually had a sort of a Twitter discussion with a New Zealand guy who say, no, New Zealand are going to win the next World Cup. Razor's got 3 years. It doesn't matter what happens in between the World Cups. All they focused on is the World Cup. And I was just laughing to myself because I thought that's what we've been saying for 8 years. And now the New Zealanders are saying it. To say like, all of a sudden the Rugby Championship is not that important anymore, Whereas, of course, now that we're winning it. But, excuse me, good to see how everyone changes. But well done to the Irish. As I say, I know a lot of Irish people, a lot of respect for Irish rugby as well. And I can't wait for Ireland against New Zealand. But, Gab, let's just skim through this. I'm sure I've had a look at a couple of the games, but not all of them. We've got Glasgow, of course, the defending champions, minus 12.5 against Benetton. Points line here, 49.5. And I must say, the way Glasgow play their rugby, they were involved in a tight game last week. And even Benetton, I'm leaning towards the overs here. Anything catch your eye?
I'm going to say that this team did so well last year, this Benetton team, starting against Glasgow. First up, I'm going to say 12 points is enough. And again, I go back to the Currie Cup many years ago. Grick was playing away, Cheese is playing away, the occasional Griffins team and these smaller teams. Double-digit starts in the first 1 or 2 weeks were almost unheard of because everyone's fresh. I mean, we saw the Griffins start to go at the end of the Currie Cup. The last couple of games, they were absolute rubbish. First couple of games, they would have given a fight. I'm going to say I like this Benetton team from last year, and I think that a plus 12.5 start is decent. It's worth a small unit. I wouldn't go bigger than that. But, small punt, Benetton plus for me.
Right, and I'm leaning towards over there, but there are two games, of course, on the same time on Friday night. And this one, I have seen a forum post on the Good for the Game forum. There is a link down to that below. Leinster minus 29.5 up against the Dragons. We've got a points line here of 61.5. I believe conditions absolutely terrible for this game. So possibly an unders play here. Alternatively, a Dragons unders play, probably at around about 14 or so. Gav, anything here for you?
Yeah, that's the first thing I'd say. Can Leinster win by 80? Of course they can. They can also win by 50. I'm going to tell you that Dragons not scoring, again, you take the 61, you minus 29, so let's call it 62 minus 30. That gives you 32. Divide that into 16. You take under 16, under 15, under 14. Dragons are not scoring that. I'm an unders Dragon punter here. Don't care what Leinster do, sorry. They can win this game by any amount. Dragons are not scoring more than 15 points in this fixture, even against a half Leinster team.
There we go. Chris saying Dragons
100%.
So very
I think Leinster to win to 0 is also a runner here. Correct.
Yeah, I think I'm in agreement there. I don't have a points line for this next game. Bulls minus 9.5 against Edinburgh. I know, Gav, you're not necessarily focused on team selections, but a few Springboks have been released back. The Bulls definitely getting a couple of those. They are quite strong favourites here against an Edinburgh side that pushed Leinster at home last week, losing by 2 points in a high-scoring game. Anything here?
Yeah. So my issue here, never mind knowing the players or not, and in this case, I wouldn't worry about the home team. I'd be more concentrated on the away team. So how strong is the Edinburgh team that's coming to South Africa? If people know that, and again, it is generally priced up in the fixture, and I'm going to tell you minus 9. First week up in South Africa against these teams. This is very different to what I've just said for the European teams. These teams getting on a plane, coming to South Africa, plus 9.5 is not enough in Joburg. Not enough. Highveld. Bulls should win this. I'm a minus punter here, not 5, 6 units or 4 units or whatever it is. I'm a Bulls minus punter here purely because it's the first week. This team's coming to South Africa. The advantage is definitely with the home team. Even if it's a weaker team, the advantage is still with the Bulls. And whether it's 9 or not, we'll see after the game. But I'm yet to see the seriousness that these top tier URC teams are bringing teams to South Africa. I had a chat with a mate of mine. I know we're going to get to the Lions game in a minute. And I said to him, how serious in fact, my question was last year at the end, I said, Leinster want to win this tournament. Why are they coming to South Africa with half a team? What are they doing? We've seen Munster come with a better team. Ulster have also come with a better team. They don't arrive in the first week, or the first couple of weeks. And you know what? When Ireland don't win this tournament, I suppose they won that one in Cape Town with Munster. But if we go through a couple of years and Ireland are not winning this tournament, maybe they rethink sending teams over. And you'll remember, Brent, in Super Rugby, Crusaders came here, Blues came here, Hurricanes, Highlanders, all those big New Zealand teams, they came with full squads. They didn't play around coming to Cape Town or Joburg or Pretoria or Durban with half a squad. They knew they were in trouble. They came with a proper squad. Sure, leaving 1 or 2 players behind is fine, but they came with full-strength teams, which is exactly why I tipped Argentina last week. South Africa went over there with half a squad. Not half a squad mathematically, but they didn't take their full team. And if you're serious about a tournament, especially if your South African leg is in this URC is early, Edinburgh coming out for the first couple of weeks and they're going to be Europe bound for the rest of the tournament. Have a go. Put everybody on the plane. And if you're worried about everyone dying in a plane crash, put them on 6 planes. But come with everybody to South Africa, play your game and get your points, maximum points you can, and go back again.
Joe just making the point about the calendar there when you have the cup games as well. And I do think, and I haven't actually looked at Edinburgh's side yet, but I do think there's a good chance they will field quite a strong side. I still think the Bulls will be too strong for them. But there are those situations where teams will rest. And let's face it, the Stormers, for example, have done that the other way around, and that they've rested players and sent weakened teams to some of the Champions Cup matches, for example, against Leicester. I remember they dropped or they left quite a few behind. So I take your point. There should be a good game. I think the Bulls, they've had a week to recover from their disappointing semi-final loss against the Sharks. They've obviously got their full URC squad and a couple of Boks coming back in. I think they're going to be too strong for Edinburgh and they'll put them away in the end. But obviously, got to be looking very carefully at the points lines in that game. Zebre plus 14.5 against Munster. I can tell you, last week, all 6 games ended within 5 points, which is quite something, all 6 URC games. So here we got Zebre at home to Munster. To me, Gav, I look at this and I go, well set handicap. Looks about right to me.
Yes, I agree. But if you're forced, you've got gun to the head, you're going to go, for me, I'm going Zebre plus. They're the home team. 14's enough. It's 2 tries. They've got to win by 3 scores or more. Second week. Does Munster, how strong is that team, number one, and do they want to get themselves into injury troubles playing an Italian team? They're going to win the game. Munster win the game, but I think Zebre win the handicap here. Again, small, 1 unit play, just feels right.
Yeah.
This is a tough one.
These early URC games, I'm not getting too involved. This, the Welsh Derby, although both teams played actually, a bit above that from my expectations last week. You've got a minus 2.5 and a points line here of 48.5.
I'm going to tell you I'm out of this game, but if you want to, you can always go by my New Zealand rule I had many years ago in Super Rugby. When 2 New Zealand teams are playing each other, just take the plus. So this is a quarter point, take the plus. Cardiff plus 2.5 for a quarter unit. Otherwise, no bet. I have no feeling on this game. I can't say anything. Nothing.
I'll tell you the type of bet you actually maybe want to take here is that either the try bet, any team by 6 or less, or I know BetX and Boyles do offer sometimes, and I'm not sure if it's on the URC, but you go back either team by 7 or less. Because that's the sort of game, you get 15 to 10, you put your bet down and you call it quits. My throat is getting a little bit raspy and dry, but fortunately we're nearing the end of the show. Connacht against the Sharks. The Sharks, of course, Currie Cup champions. How they won that game, how the Lions threw it away, I do not know. But brilliant work by the Sharks. Mondo on the Good for the Game forum, he says, back the Sharks to beat the halftime handicap. They've got a strong starting side, bench not so much. What are your views of Gab?
Yeah, so I watched that game, and I've obviously got I've got a Sharks wife, and we have a Sharks couch and a Lions couch at home. And I did hear many times on Saturday evening that the Lions didn't win. And congratulations to the Sharks. They won the game. A couple of guys at the office suggesting that the game was over before the ball went out. It wasn't. The Sharks definitely won fair and square. The siren hadn't gone. Game was on. They lost the opportunity. And, of course, and we remember, Brent, you and I, 2009 Tri Nations when the New Zealand coach, they interviewed him after the game. He said, how did you lose that game? He says, well, when you give penalties away in their half and you've got a guy like Francois Steyn who's kicking 62, 65-meter kicks, you're never safe. So, exactly. Jordan Hendrickse, yes, my bloed is groen. I do know him because he used to be a Lion, and I don't know where I know him from before. But, yes, generally the fly-offs and the scrum-offs I remember. And listen, there was a guy, the Greek that used to kick 65-meter kicks in Kimberley. If you can kick over 60 meters, you're a massive weapon in a team, especially when it comes down to the end. So well done to the Sharks. All my Sharks mates that are watching tonight or watching on YouTube in the next couple of days, they'll know I'm a Lion supporter, and if the Lions aren't involved, I'm a Shark supporter. So yes, I do enjoy the Sharks. I'm going to tell you that this, for me, I'm going to back the Sharks on the board here, and the reason for that is quite simply because there's two things that happen after a victory. You either get punch drunk and you get over the top where you feel invincible. Curry Cup's not quite punch drunk stuff. It's good enough to feel good for the week. And for some of especially the younger guys and the older guys that have never got their hands on the trophy, they'll have enjoyed winning the Curry Cup, especially in Johannesburg. I think the Sharks team goes over there with a bit of momentum, a bit of passion. I think the banter and the chatter on the airplane will be good. I think the practice and training this week would have been good. They know what they have to do. And it's a good side when you win a tournament like this, or when you win a cup, you win anything actually for that matter. You're mentally stronger than if you'd lost it. So yes, Connacht. This is the team that played South Africa in 2005, I think, in that warm-up game. 2007, sorry, with the World Cup, and the handicap was 38, and I punted the plus 38. I just think I'm not going to bother with the plus here. Connacht can obviously win the game comfortably. I'm a Sharks on the board punter here for a bit of value, and at 6.5, you're going to get close to 2-1, maybe even 22-10. That's a bit of value for me for a team that can win this game. I wouldn't be taking a minus or plus because it's probably well set. Could be either way, but I think the value's with the Sharks to win because of the momentum of them having won last week.
Well, I'll get you going on Ospreys up against Stormers here. This is also obviously now away from home. Stormers have been out of action for a while, where Province didn't make the semi-finals of the Curry Cup. They go away to the Ospreys. You've got points 48.5, and I'm just going to look for the Lions game because for some reason I missed that one. So while you're chatting on that, I'm just going to go get a price on the Lions game quickly, Gav.
Yeah, so this is Wales versus South Africa, yeah. And I was waiting for this is the game I've actually targeted this week. Whenever the Welsh teams play the South African teams, I've got to say, and I haven't done the stats, but it feels right to me. I'm a Stormers punter here, and yes, it's -2. I'm going to suggest you can go for a bigger minus here, maybe a 6, 7, 8, 9, even a 10, -10. I think the Stormers, South Africa, are just so much stronger than Wales. I don't know the composition of this Ospreys team, but the fact that Stormers are already -2 here on the books, I'm going to tell you they've got the right favourite. And they'll win by a lot more. They'll win far more comfortably than the handicap suggests. I think this is a double-digit Stormers win, depending on the weather. If it's really crappy, then just take the Stormers to win on the board. But if it's decent weather, and these kind of fixtures, I take the game. I take my bet closer to kickoff. I'm not a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday punter when it comes to a game in Europe because of the weather. So I'd rather wait until I can see what's going on and make my decision there. But I definitely like the Stormers here. They've had a big break, and Wales have done absolutely nothing for me.
Right, Lions, I missed this game for whatever reason. It wasn't up with the bookie that I looked at the handicaps. Lions -6.5 against Ulster. Of course, Lions here, we talk about the Sharks, Gab. You were saying Sharks, obviously, yes, they had to travel, but in a good mental space. I mean, the counter argument could be for the Lions, have they recovered from last week mentally, or is it a case of, well, put behind them already, they're at home, let's put Ulster away?
Okay, so this is a game where Ulster won last year. It was quite close, I think. I think they won by 3 or 4 points. I can't remember exactly. And I was a Lions punter in that game. And that wasn't a full-strength team. I do think that this, the Lions are not involved in the Springboks except for the two guys that got wrong, Edwald van der Merwe and Morne van der Berg, whatever his name is. There you go, May Blutzer Skrin. I know 2 Lions players, and that's my team. That's as far as it goes. I only know 2. But, I like Lions here. A bit of retribution for last year, first game up. But Brent, I think the weather more importantly. We've had snow all over the place. In fact, one of my guys in the office was in Joburg over the weekend, said it was the coldest day he's ever encountered, for lack of a better word, on Saturday. And the other guy went to the Currie Cup final. They said Joburg was so cold on the weekend, and I grew up there. My coldest day ever was in Geneva in Switzerland. It was -4 or 5, and it just felt so cold, and people were swimming in the lake. But if it's very cold,
it was chilly. It was chilly on the weekend, but I know a lot of people have told me they've never felt such cold. I was in shorts and t-shirt Saturday night, Monday night. I'm telling you, they don't make them like they used to. If that was too cold for you on Saturday, then you're not as tough as you used to be. We haven't had a cold winter, but definitely that temperature for me really, really wasn't that bad. But then I'm abnormal, so what the hell? But
so I just wanted to say one more thing. I asked my Irish mates a couple of weeks ago before this tournament started, and I said to him, again, Ulster, Leinster, what are they doing here? And he said, no, he's pretty sure they're going to send full-strength teams over. So I don't know how strong this Ulster team is, but I was impressed with the Lions, and they've won their games. And I know that Connacht have beaten them and Ulster have beaten them in the past. I think we even had an Edinburgh or Glasgow win over there. But 6.5 for the first game. I'm a Lions punter. I think, again, it feels like a double-digit win for the Lions. Whether they get a bonus point or not, I don't know. -6 just feels too low.
Yeah, I must say I was impressed by Ulster last week. I think it was at Glasgow that they came back to beat very narrowly 2019. Yeah, actually, I'm going the other way here, and also not a confident call. I'll obviously be looking at the points lines in Johannesburg, but I'm thinking Ulster on the board. Yeah, I think they can get a win against a Lions side, a bit rattled, perhaps a little bit down after last week. But that brings us to the end of the games there, Gav. Before we get into the best bet, any other sport catch your eye this weekend? It's all about rugby for me, really.
Apparently, we're playing Ireland cricket in Dubai. I saw we lost the first 2 games to Afghanistan, and then I watched that 3rd game and we smashed them. I don't know. I love watching cricket, especially South Africa. I'm looking forward to that SA20 coming in January. But yes, I don't have any other bets on other sports at the moment. Just rugby for me. I enjoyed last weekend. It was great. And I enjoyed the Lions-Sharks game, even though we lost. I enjoyed it. And I knew I was going to get the banter, and I happily accepted it and passed it on. But yes, it's nice to see URC coming back now. I'm quite excited. Best bet for me, Argentina come close here. I don't know what that means. I haven't thought about it. I'm definitely a plus punter at 18, 19, and whatever that is. I'm really confident this is a close game. I don't know what plus I'm going to take finally. I haven't had a bet yet. But I do think Oracle's going for South Africa. I absolutely agree. They can win. Sure. We're better than them. So yes, I do think that. I like Argentina plus here. I do. I just don't know how deep I like it, but I like Argentina plus here. I was impressed with them.
I must say, I do like the Huns treble Australia plus 19.5. The only thing I'd probably throw in under 57.5 instead of Australia plus, perhaps. over 56.5. SA, even though I'm on the 51.5, I wouldn't talk anyone out of the overs. Still, I do like Stefan's bet, though, the over 36.5. South Africa might replace that, but we're thinking along similar lines. And then Dragons under 16.5, as we all discussed. That's a nice treble there from Johan at 11-2. Any comment on that one, Oracle?
Yeah, so just bring his bet up again. He said plus 19 Australia. Now, I like the plus 19 Australia here, Johan here. And the South Africa-Argentina one, I'm with you on the Dragons under. Let's start with that one. So we've nipped that in the bud. Australia plus 9. I'd like to say that I would rather go over Australia points because New Zealand can score a lot. I think the over Australia points is more likely than the plus, although I do expect the plus. It's a catch-22 for me. I'm not going to say Australia plus 19 is wrong. I do agree. I think it will be a bit closer, but I do think Australia score points here. And that might be the difference. I mean, we're talking about the last 20 minutes of New Zealand. Now it's been 5 games. They haven't scored in the last 20 minutes. Who knows? It could go to 6 games. We don't know what the problem is. I haven't seen a stat like that in any team over any top team. In other words, a winning team having a bad last 20 minutes. In fact, we used to tell people, if you're playing New Zealand, you need to be up by 10 with the last 20 minutes to go. Otherwise, you're in trouble. Yeah. You're going to lose the game. I mean, that's how we used to speak. Over 56, South Africa, Argentina, of course. I mean, it can happen. I just think it's going to be closer. I don't know there's going to be a lot of points. So, yeah. What is that? 11-2. Yeah. You're not going to go broke taking that, Jan. It's a good bet.
I like his treble as well. As I say, I might have some variation on it. Of course, if you haven't subscribed to the Good for the Game newsletter yet, there is a link down below. Join the fastest growing. I don't want to say fastest growing. We're growing steadily, but certainly a strong sports betting community. Lots of big plans for the future. Got to end off here. My Brutus Grun, your good mate. He only arrived right at the end of the show, Oracle. Is Oracle still picking his bets like Stevie Wonder?
What's the show, Brew? What's the show?
I'd like to say that Oracle has done his homework for the show. Gab, it's been a pleasure, of course, having you on the show. And enjoy the weekend. I'm sure we'll be in touch. I'm going to go catch up on a bit of President's Cup golf. No doubt see the internationals take a little bit of a hiding. And to the new guys who watch the show, Stephen, thanks very much for bringing the boys in. I saw Eugene there and I think a couple of others. Yeah, guys, spread the word. Always, the more we've got in the chat and that, the better, the more enjoyable the show. Thank you, everyone.
You got to get seen on the show, Brie. Get him on. Get him on as a guest.
We're always looking if anybody, and let's just bring up this Premiership play of the weekend quickly. Bristol and Sarries are the 2 plays there. There's so much rugby. I wish we could cover everything there. I can tell you that now. And he's put it this way. Always happy to welcome new guests. I've got a lot of guys like yourself and Henrik who are regulars on the show, which we really appreciate. But every now and again, all of us go through a stage where we need a bit of a gap. And it's great to have guys to come in and plug the gaps. So I always enjoy having Harry on. So anyone who ever wants to come on as a guest, be my guest, as they say. Drop me an email or whatever. More than happy to have you on. But Gav, great chatting to you, mate. Have a great weekend. And thanks to all the boys in the live chat. Come on, South Africa. Bring it home for me, certainly on the points front against Argentina. Till next week, have a great one.